Alec, DeAndre, and Taft, and we will be presenting on poverty in Utah and social sustainability. To introduce the subject, we'll talk about the different types of poverty and how they affect Utah, and then we'll talk about the solutions and organizations for addressing poverty. And in closing, we'll discuss some of its effects on social sustainability and why it should matter to us. The two types of poverty are situational and intergenerational. So, situational is related to people who may be in a disaster zone or in an economic recession within their country. This typically will only affect a family for a few months or for a few years. And then, on contrast, intergenerational poverty transcends between generations of a family, and a lot of its causes aren't fully understood, but these are people who may live in a financially stable community but lack the ability or option to escape their position in poverty. And specifically, poverty in Utah can be illustrated by this graphic on the right. The darker shade of blue that you see on the state, or on the county, I mean, relates to a higher percentage of poverty. Cache County right here is about 10 to 17% of its people are in poverty. Some facts about poverty in Utah is 33% of children who are raised in poverty are at risk of staying in it upon reaching adulthood. About 70% of adults who are in poverty are women, and 80% of these people in poverty have children. And an estimate was done in 2015 that said about 57,000 children in Utah were living in a family that was in intergenerational poverty. Several of the perspectives need to be considered in order to understand intergenerational poverty. The first being economic, which is just kind of the difference in the upper and lower class that allows for people to be below the poverty line. And then social, which is the social tendencies of a culture that prevent someone from leaving poverty, such as sexism and racism. And then the last one is lifestyle, which is the lifestyle's tendencies of people in poverty to have, such as illiteracy or a lack of education higher than high school, and then some poor health options or choices.
Now we're going to talk about why poverty matters and why we should care about it. The first reason is while we help to prevent and lower poverty levels, we will be decreasing social tensions and crime rates. Poverty limits the growth of our economy. If we can get more people out of poverty, our economy would start to grow. Those stuck in poverty are much less likely or able to participate in political affairs. So, how do we get people out of poverty? Utah Governor Gary R. Herbert spoke about breaking out of poverty in a roundtable discussion during the NACO Legislative Conference of 2016. He made two observations. The first observation is if they can get a good education, they can get a good job. The second observation he made is if you focus on helping the children as well as the parents, you can stop intergenerational poverty before it starts. So, what are the few organizations that can help? The first organization is the Community Action Partnership of Utah, or CAP Utah. They help Utah's government officials find solutions and stay updated on poverty trends. They also provide training to the 9 community action agencies in Utah. And also, they provide assistance to low-income families across the state. The second organization is the College Access Network Utah. They help low-income students obtain a higher education. And then lastly, LDSjobs.org. They offer free career training and job search assistance. Poverty and social sustainability. Poverty is sometimes a result of ACE, adverse childhood experiences. This can be a result of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse towards a child. Many children born into poverty have a hard time getting out because of their given condition and social surroundings. Much of poverty can be avoided by providing children with resources and educational services. Remember that a lower poverty rate would equal a more stable society with less crime, abuse, and hunger. In conclusion, poverty has an impact on all members of a society, but if we can work together to help families break out of the intergenerational poverty loop, then our future as a society will stay bright.